Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to be about capture. All right. Basically getting to an opportunity in its earliest stages and shaping it toward you so it can only go toward you without the need of a sole source. So in defense contracting, war contracting, whatever you want to call it, that's one of the highest tiers of skill set, in my opinion, is being able to get to the opportunity in its earliest stages, the developmental stages, before it's actually officially an opportunity, before a requirement's even developed. It's in the idea phase, and you're scoping the requirement so specifically towards you that there just is nobody else who's going to be technically acceptable. So I'm going to go over a scenario I've seen happen quite a few times, sitting on both sides of the table, DOD and on the contracting side. All right, and that's loss of control over an opportunity. So the scenario would be you go sit down, you have a relationship or whatnot, maybe with a commander or some decision maker in the Department of Defense, Department of War. All right, you pitch a product or you pitch a capability to them, pitch a service, and they want to move forward. They're like, "Hey, you're exactly what we need. This is absolutely going to help our mission. What do we need to do to get the ball rolling?" That would be commander, decision maker. So vendors get all excited. They're like, "Oh, heck yeah. You kind of knocked it out of the park." But much of the time, that deal stagnates, doesn't go anywhere, or it dies. All right. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It happens very, very often. All right. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to alleviate that so you don't lose control over an opportunity. Um, so the primary reasons that happens, okay. First of all, that commander, he doesn't have any contracting authority. All right. He's not a contracting officer. All right. So if you're meeting with customers and end users, you need to know, hey, you have no contracting authority, or they have no contracting authority. So they can want you all day long, but that's pretty much meaningless. It's a good start because you're generating a requirement. Sometimes you're generating an opportunity out of nothing, but they can't just give you money and you guys start working together. It doesn't work like that. So a lot of times they also don't have any contracting knowledge. And I would say specifically, they don't know how to write a requirement, right? Which is their statement of work, performance work statement, or statement of objectives. If it's a product, it's going to be salient characteristics, document of your product. Okay. So what happens if they don't know how to write a requirement? All right. Also, that commander who wants you, this is a really important part, who does want to move forward, he's not going to write that requirement. It's not going to happen. He's gonna hand it off to a subordinate who's going to write that requirement. Okay, and that's the person you need to get a hold of. All right, because they're going to be responsible. Some Captain America is going to be responsible for generating that performance work statement of work, just to start the contracting process, right? To actually move forward. So that's the point of contact you want to get a hold of, whoever it's going to be tasked out to. And then any updates you would CC the commander to just to show periodically that, hey, this is moving forward. And it kind of keeps him accountable. It gives him a reason to keep pushing it forward. All right. So the only part of the process the customer has any control over in the contracting process, for the most part, is their requirement. All right. Their performance work statement, statement of work, or statement of objectives. They only have control over their requirement. There's no way they can just give you an opportunity most of the time. And usually a contract officer is not going to help. They're not going to help an end user, say, hey, we want this guy for these particular service, or we want this brand name product. I mean, you can ask for a sole source, but most of the time it's going to be no because it's not justified. So you as the vendor, you need to provide the ammo to your customer, to your end user. You have to provide the ammo that they need to actually buy you. Okay. And there's two ways of doing this. And contract officers probably wouldn't be okay with this, but I'm just telling you what may or may not work. So market research, they have to have market research, okay, for any requirement. And that's usually a quote. breaking out everything that your product or your service offers. Uh, that's their market research is like an example of that. The most ideal example of that would be to provide them a statement of work, a performance work statement that has worked for other customers. Okay. If they don't know how to write a requirement, it's if they do get to that point where they generate a requirement, it's going to be so loosely written and not scoped specifically enough toward you to where it's most likely if it comes out to bid, you have no advantage, or it's just going to be sniped by the lowest price technically acceptable person who provides those services or a similar product. So giving them a statement of work, a performance work statement that is heavily scoped toward you for their market research is a really big deal because it's most likely they do not know how to write that and you do not want to leave that in their hands. Okay. So another recommendation or another way you could do that if you don't know how to write performance work statements because they're not exactly easy. I could show a template in another video, but it's, a performance work statement template that I was given was 15 pages and it was just telling you how to fill out the template. So if you put yourself in a green suitor's position, and they did not join the army to do this, they're just see if you could do it, write a really good performance work statement. Okay. But having a performance work statement is kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a business card. So when you do meet with customers, you're saying, hey, this is just for your market research. This is what has worked for other customers. And obviously in the contractor specific requirements, it's going to be very, very, very heavily scoped toward you. So things like contractor shall have a minimum of 12 years past performance supporting soft and special mission units. All right. On requirements similar in size, scope, and complexity. Proximity, are you very close to the customer? Are they on a base that's in your backyard? So, due to the sensitive nature of this requirement, contractors shall demonstrate their ability to be on site within 1 hour of being notified. You used to be able to do a mile radius, but you can't do that anymore. Let's see. Contractor shall hold a current top secret facility clearance. All right. Minimum past performance and supported exercises shall include the following, full mission profiles, airfield seizures, breaching, asymmetric breaching, human, SIGINT, OSINT operations requiring level 3 sourcing efforts within major metropolitan cities. Let's see, RMT execution in major metropolitan cities or major metropolitan areas of operations requiring coordination and deconfliction with local government, law enforcement, FAA, private landowners, fire departments, and adjacent federal agencies must provide a minimum of 5 examples of documented past performance. Okay, so that's when you give them that statement of work for their market research, all right, it's going to be everything that they want because you're not leaving that in their control. And it's just a suggestion. They could take that and throw it in the trash. You can't write a customer's statement of work. It's inherently governmental. Okay. But you can give them suggestions because it's unlikely they're going to be able to write it better than you. All right. And the whole entire contract rides on that requirement. So if it's poorly written, there's no way the contract's going to turn out to be okay. So in my opinion, it's definitely in the best interest of the government, but it's just a suggestion. Can't write it for them. It's inherently governmental. They could throw it in the trash. It's just what's worked for other customers who've already successfully got you on contract. So again, the whole point of that is in the contractor specific requirements section, it's heavily scoped toward you and your past performance. So I just gave you a bunch of examples, but you have to figure out what is very specific about your company and you need to plug that in there. All right. They could delete it, they could use it, but most of the time, if they want you, they're going to use it because they don't know how to buy you. You have to give them the ammo that they need to buy you. So if you don't want to be that blatant about it and give them a performance work statement, another thing that's worked, may or may not have worked, is giving them recommendations to the government from industry document, but then it's kind of written in a performance work statement format that, again, you're still raising the minimum standard. All right. So contractors shall have a minimum. Here's what I put like to demonstrate a deep understanding of this requirement, ensure Maximum unit participation and training with minimal disruptions. The contractor shall provide the following minimum past performance licenses and qualifications. All right. And so in this recommendations to government from industry, the following recommendations will ensure your organization will receive the most professional and qualified vendors in the industry. Consider adding the following paragraphs to your requirement. So contractor personnel qualifications, minimum past performance. This is where you drop in absolutely everything. Everything that is specific to you and your past performance and your capabilities. So all you're doing, you can't really guarantee it goes to you, but you can really, really raise the probability. All right. So anybody can bid it, but they're most likely not going to be technically acceptable because you're raising that minimum really, really high. All right. And that's get rid of all the LPTA vendors who are trying to come into the industry and pretty much work for free just to get past performance. You can also in the recommendations to government for industry, we recommend this is a, best value trade-off requirement, not LPTA, service disabled veteran on a small business set aside, and that ensures you're, getting someone from the community that knows your mission, they know your op tempo, they can get up to speed and perform immediately. There's no like transition or warm up period. But those are, you know, two suggestions I would, if you are an SDVOSB, you want to suggest that obviously because that just scopes out all the competition who isn't, and then best value trade-off, you want to get out of LPTA. You don't ever want an LPTA. And what I've seen is LPTA is pretty much the go-to because it's least risk for the government. It puts everything onto the contractor, but it's just a race to the bottom. So it's in my opinion, it's not the best interest to the government the most of the time. It's just not. Best value trade-off overwhelmingly is. That way you don't have to come in dirt cheap. Right? You don't have to be the cheapest. Right. And then you still have a really, really high rate of success because you're scoping it so specifically toward your company, your past performance, your product. I would say an example for a product, this is mostly going over professional services, but for a product, say like DGI Mavics, all right, Enterprise 2. All right. So product, or substitute, shall have, the minimum following capabilities. Must have a minimum of a 4.5 hour flight time before being recharged, something like that. So really, whatever is very specific to that product, you make that the minimum. So there's no cheaper or less capable products that can be substituted for the product that you're trying to sell. But that's another example because at the time, the DJI Enterprise 2, it was like the longest flying drone there was. I want to say it was 4.5 hours. I forget what I wrote, but that was the minimum. So there were all kinds of cheap substitutes, but none of them could fly for a minimum of 4.5 hours. All right, you just raised the bar really high. So even though they were not the cheapest, they were close, but that's everything else was not technically acceptable. So you could skip it, skip it, skip it, skip it, and then go award it to the product that you want. All right. And you're kind of doing the same thing with professional services. You're making everything so specific toward you, so scoped toward you and your past performance and your capabilities that everybody can bid. They're just not going to be technically acceptable. So again, that's just what I may or may not have seen work. And hopefully, if you got something out of the video, please let me know, like it, comment, and I will see you on the next one. Let me know what else you guys want to learn. Thanks, guys.